Bible does not explicitly confirm it in a single passage, but multiple texts point in that same direction. The Damascus document, the letters of Paul, and the book of Genesis together form a coherent and disturbing picture. The angels did not learn the lesson from the flood, or they simply chose to ignore it and repeat the forbidden act. And the result was the reappearance of the Nephilim in the Promised Land, exactly when the Israelites were arriving at the grave. That encounter between the Israeli spies and the giants of Canaan was neither a narrative accident nor a mere literary device. It was the reflection of a spiritual war, much older and deeper, that began before the first human being existed. The three hypotheses, that of the Nephilim in the Ark, the regional flood, and the angelic repopulation, each have their strengths. None of them can be completely dismissed in light of the other texts, and each one sheds light on a different angle. The first is dramatic but unlikely. The second is linguistically coherent but theologically uncomfortable for many. The third is the one that best fits with the set of textual evidence scattered throughout ancient writings and sources. It is certain that the Bible confirms the return of the Nephilim, but does not give a direct explanation for it. That silence of the sacred text has been a source of debates, studies, and fascination from biblical times to the present. It is not a mistake or a careless omission, but perhaps an invitation to delve into the texts with more rigor. And the story of the Nephilim does not end with their reappearance in Canaan, or with the victory of the Israelites over the giants. The narrative of those colossal beings of supernatural origin continues to unfold throughout the entire Old Testament. Each battle, each conquest, each confrontation between Israel and the giant peoples is part of a larger conflict. A conflict that, according to some interpretations, culminates in a definitive confrontation with a figure who will change history. The Nephilim, those beings who survived the greatest cataclysm in human history, left an indelible mark. In the sacred texts, in the traditions of ancient peoples, and in the mysteries that scholars still try to solve today. The question is not just how they survived the flood, but what role they played in the great narrative of humanity and the divine. And the answer could reveal something about human origins that no religious tradition has stated with full clarity. The apocryphal texts, the Dead Sea Scrolls, and the writings of Paul together form a map of the same territory. A territory inhabited by beings that existed on the border between the human and the divine, between the visible and the invisible. That border, according to the oldest texts, was not destroyed by the flood, but simply redrawn in another location. The Watchers of the Sky, as they are called in the Qumran manuscripts, did not cease to exist when the waters rose. They continued observing, waiting, and according to some sources, acting upon the human world in ways that the Bible hints at. The Book of Enoch, although not canonical, is cited in the very epistle of Enoch, which gives it an authority that is hard to ignore. The text describes in detail the process by which the watchers made the decision to descend and join the Lord. And it is narrated how that decision was irreversible, sealing the fate of those angels and their gigantic descendants. But if the decision was irreversible for the original watchers, what prevented other angels from making the same choice? Nothing. According to the theory of repopulation, nothing except the divine will that Paul seemed to want to protect with his advice. That is why I recommended to the women of Corinth that they cover themselves, not for cultural modesty, but for a deep spiritual reason. He was warning about a threat that, according to his worldview, remained real and present in the world of his time. That continuity between the ancient biblical world and the world of the New Testament is precisely what makes this story unique. The an exotic element of the book of Genesis, but a narrative thread that runs throughout the entire Bible. From Genesis to the prophets, from the Psalms to the apostolic letters, its shadow is cast in various ways. King Og of Bashan, mentioned in Deuteronomy, was the last of the Rephaim, another name linked to the lineage of giants. Goliath, the Philistine warrior brought down by David, belonged, according to the scriptures, to a family of giants in Gath. Each of those figures is an echo of the original Nephilim, a remnant of that lineage that the flood did not manage to extinguish. And each victory of Israel over those giants has a meaning that goes beyond the military history of an ancient people. They are battles in a deeper conflict that began in the heavens and manifested on earth through generations. That conflict has its own rules, its own actors, and its own logic, that the biblical narrative gradually reveals. As the centuries progress and the books of the Old Testament follow one another, the pattern becomes increasingly visible. Giants always appear on the path of the chosen people, as if their presence obeyed our plans. A conflict that, according to the boldest interpretations of the sacred texts, has not yet reached its final conclusion. The story of the Nephilim is, at its core, the story of a violated boundary and the consequences that violation produced. It is the story of what happens when the cosmic order is challenged and the consequences of that challenge propagate through time. It is also a reminder that sacred texts hold layers of meaning that go far beyond superficial reading. And it is also the story of a God who responded to that challenge with the most powerful instrument at his disposal, the flood. But if the Nephilim had returned, then the battle did not end with the waters, and the story